All right, Thando.
Yeah.
You have a crown card in your hand.
Yeah. It is right
What
here.
is it? What does it say? What does it read?
So it says, I end to begin. There's no transformation without transition.
What does that mean to you?
I think for me, every end has a beginning and every beginning has an end. And I say that in the sense of like, none exists without the other. And using the metaphor of a book, like you can't read 2 chapters of a book at the same time because it won't make sense. You need the previous chapter in order to continue to the next one. And so I think for me, the way I've always looked at life is that you've got to go through things, get to the end of that to begin something new, to begin something different. And so, as it says, I end to begin.
Amen.
But I also begin to end.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, we getting started. So this is this is my brother Thando Mbhele. This guy is a visionary filmmaker. Makes dope, impactful, powerful visuals, powerful stories, powerful narratives. I had an opportunity and the blessing of working with him, and he has an eye and a way to describe things that will bring out the emotion that he wants to bring out. And so it's always an honor to have a fellow storyteller on the podcast. But everybody, welcome Thando, my guy.
All right, man.
All right, let's go. Let's jump right in. Talk to me about your upbringing.
So I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa, in a little small, I wouldn't say it's a town, but like it's a little area called Midrand. And so I grew up, 2 parents, younger sister. And I think I've always been obsessed with storytelling. I always joke with people and say I used to tell very tall tales in school, like this such and such celebrity is my uncle, so and so is this, and I was able to craft these stories so well that like the line between what was the truth and what was a lie was very like blurred, like you'd never know. And so I think my love for storytelling came from there. I was always great at creative writing, I used to talk a lot in class, the typical, oh, he's distracting in class, blah, 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 like that was me. But also simultaneously, my dad had, been a little bit into videography. And so that's kind of where I got introduced to cameras and just really being interested in that. And so I really started to fall in love with visual storytelling. I think I got to a point like later on in my upbringing around I want to say 10, 11, where I fell out of love with reading and I fell in love with watching movies and going to the cinema and like that entire experience. And so I would say my upbringing was really just the catalyst for my love for telling stories and just entertaining and impacting people. Yeah,
got it. So of course, like you just talked about how like chapters in your life and how that chapter will the chapter of your life, of your upbringing, flows into the chapter of you becoming a storyteller visually, and loving that. So my question is, as a visionary, bro, which you are,
Thank you.
I am curious. I'm curious to know, when you were in your room, like by yourself, like say laying down and thinking, like, what did you what did you envision
in terms of
career storytelling and stuff like that, or just like how the world should be, philosophy?
I think I've always understood the power of storytelling. Just being South African, a huge thing for us is storytelling, like bedtime stories and all that. And so I always wanted my parents to tell me stories, and so obviously having that love for storytelling and then discovering filmmaking, I think, I just had an obsession with what stories can do. You know what I mean? Like, let's think about the impact of Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. It's bringing so many communities together. And so I think I was always obsessed with being a part of that. I always say to people that I I think the main thing about filmmaking is that I am telling stories, but also posing questions and provoking thoughts. Provoking ideas. And I've always been that person where everyone believes this, and I go, no, but what about if we like no, I'm not fighting. I'm just asking. But like, what if we just ask it? And so I think filmmaking is one of the best tools to do that. And so I think that's kind of what I'd always picture is like being a part of that process.
Amen. It's great. And the reality is of that as well is that great questions are a huge part of great storytelling.
Exactly.
And how it can be just as impactful, even if you're not telling a story, but asking the right questions in a different sequence. It's also, you're also having somebody walk on an entire journey. And so when you got into filmmaking, first thing is you said that you fell out of love with reading and fell in love with movies and cinema. What was the first movie you remember like actually impacting you?
The problem with that question is like all I do is watch movies.
I get it.
Shoo. I don't remember a specific movie, but I remember how the process went. I'll tell that story. So my uncle had just graduated from university and was starting to work like a normal 9 to 5 and doing internships and stuff like that. And so he had to live with us because we were in kind of like Johannesburg, which is where all the jobs are. You know what I'm saying? And so he came to live with us, and he had this hard drive with just like bootleg movies on it. And like every night, instead of doing my homework, I just plugged that in and like I'd maybe watch like 2 or 3 movies.
It's great.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where I kind of formed the addiction for filmmaking. So it's very hard to pinpoint to go, which movie impacted me. But I would say just that era, those couple of months where he lived with us, that was the most impactful because it was just like, boom, movie after movie after movie after movie after movie. Yeah.
And what type of movies resonated with you like the most?
I think at the time it was a lot of like a lot of comedy, a lot of action, and then I think as I've gone on, I really like I don't like saying drama, but like piece of life. Like stories that have happened. Something that's within the realm of possibilities of what could happen. In my world or in your world, and so just creating that relatability is what's always been important for me. So I think just within that realm, that's like always been the type of films that have impacted me. It's like films that are just relatable. Slice of life, this could happen, Yeah,
and that's also, this is, the first like through line I see is that you were in art, like a magnificent storyteller, impactful storyteller from a younger age.
Yeah.
And how the stories allow people to relate to you. And for them to believe what you're saying. And you also lean towards relatable stories that people can actually achieve. I really think it speaks to seeing the potential in people.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate?
Sorry?
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. I'd say that's accurate. I think I've always said that movies. So growing up in a Christian household.
Yeah.
My mom was always saying, media is impacting the world, like it's changing things. And I go, no. I think what media does is holds up a mirror to society and shows us who we are. And a lot of the times we don't like who we are, and so then we say, media's turning the kids into this. And I was like, no, like this is what humans are at their core, and we're just holding up a mirror. That kind of like looks at the heart, not what's going on out here, but like what's in here. Yeah,
that's spectacular, bro. And I truly believe that as well, bro. That I said that in really like difficult times in our country. I'm like, we're like, what are we so frustrated about? Oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be. This isn't my president and stuff like that. I'm like. I think what people are really fighting in that aspect, especially the first time, was like this is a true reflection of what this is.
Yeah.
Like of the reality of the
It's our
truth.
society.
It's
It's
not,
who we are.
it's who we are. And it's like, we're so disgusted by the truth of our own, of our own doing. And so then you start to fall in love with the process of storytelling, of movie and filmmaking, and that creating that world, making things that are relatable. So then, what was the process of you starting from like the smallest film that you made, and what was that process like from that?
So I think my first hands-on kind of project was in the 6th grade. We had to make like a book trailer, and so we essentially had to take a book that we had read and as a group and kind of make a trailer for that book. And so I remember that was kind of the first time I opened up an editing software, and like my family always had like a little video camera, but like this was the first time I was using it for my own stuff. And so one Friday afternoon, me and my friends, we just went around like our little school campus and like shot a little book trailer. Like it was just cool shots here and there, you know what I mean? And then put that together, and it was like the best one in the class. Like I don't know what I was doing, but I think it was very clear that like, oh, this guy has a passion for this thing. I had an understanding of the editing software. Everyone else is struggling, like, oh, I can't. But like I had an understanding of the editing software. And so then after that, I don't remember what grade it was, but then we had to make a short film for our drama class. Like they made us script it out, shoot it, edit it. And so I remember we did like a chase scene. So once again, it was like around the school, just like one Saturday. I don't remember. I think we shot it on like an iPod, like the little iPod Touch.
Yeah.
And so we shot on that, and I think it was a story about like these 2 gangs, and like one gang stole drugs from this gang, and so now they're chasing each other, like and whatever. So we just took it as an opportunity to like do cool stunts around our school, whatever. Because like one of my friends who was an athlete, like he could do all these stunts or whatever. So it was, it was great to capture that. And so like also with that, best one in the class. You know what I mean? It was really great.
Yeah.
And then the first piece where it was like actual proper storytelling, I was in the 12th grade, so my final year of high school. And so my friend Kamla, who we did drama with, like I would say like it's one of like my creative like confidants, partners. We wrote a film called Jabu, and it was based around the concept of time, right? And basically how in South Africa we have these street dancers who when the traffic light turns red, they come out, they do a little dance, traffic light goes green, and they go through the cars and like collect any change that people can give. And so we created a film around that concept of this guy having how many ever seconds to make a living throughout the day. And so once again, that was just like creating a narrative that was kind of like weaving through some sort of topic or motif. And so I would say that was kind of the piece where I was like, okay, no, I can do this. I have an understanding of this. And then going into film school helped me realize what aspect of the creative process I wanted to be a part of. So that's where I discovered, okay, I'm not that great at writing. I'm okay at like filming things. I think there's people who are way better, but I think my strongest skills were directing and editing. And so that's kind of the path I've decided to go on. And then, in other jobs I've been forced to produce. And so now I know that's my skill set. Anything outside of that, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to do it. But that's really been a part of that's how kind of my creative process and development has come along. And now being in a place where, a lot of people my age want to just jump into storytelling, but I think I just haven't lived enough life to go out there and tell stories. Because one thing I noticed in film school is like everyone makes films around death and relationships because that's all we know. We're like, we're like fresh out of high school. And so I think I really want to live more life in order to be able to kind of like tell more relatable, more impactful stories, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot in there. So the first thing is from 6th grade, and then you had another project after that, and then one in 12th grade. These are like, so these are like the best ones that were there.
Yeah.
And I think that also defined as like people were moved by the pieces. So then, like, what is your approach when making a film? Like, what is it like? When do you feel like a film is going in the right direction, and then when do you feel like a film is actually complete?
When do I feel like it's going in the right direction? When do I feel like it's going complete? I feel like it's going in the right direction if the message is clear. I feel like it's complete when there's a saying that says, films are never complete. They're just merely abandoned. And so I think the superpower isn't in knowing when it's complete. It's knowing when to abandon it. And so I've had a very scientific approach to that, which is deadlines. I gotta get it done by the deadline, And so right before the deadline, I'll play it. I'll go, no, it's not as bad as I thought it'd be, and I send it. Like, I think if you think your piece of art is good, like, you've done something wrong. Like, I think
so?
Yes, I think Martin Scorsese said it best. That if you look at the first cut of your film and it doesn't make you physically sick, you've done something wrong.
Okay, that's fair. But there's also people that say you need to be moved by your piece as well. And if you are moved by it, then wouldn't you categorize that as good?
I think the power of being a storyteller is especially as an editor. I always joke about it and say, like, my power is in manipulating feelings. When I made videos for church, if someone cried, I went, all right, I've done it. It didn't move me, but I knew that, like, if I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, it can make.
It's a craft,
And so I think
craft.
I think you really have, the important thing about art is you have to really step back from it and look at it like science. Doctors change lives every day. But you go to a hospital, these dudes are chill, they're laughing. Like, they're laughing before surgery and chill. So it's like, you've really got to remove yourself from, you've got to remove the emotions out of the process and treat it like a science. Because that's what art really is. I don't think people, like, look at the importance of what artists do, whether it's a storyteller, musician. We're genuinely changing the way people think. Pictures, music, motion pictures. You have the power to provoke. You have the power to soften. You have to, and so no one understands that there's psychology behind this, and this is a science. And so for me, removing myself from that process and understanding that something may be good for me and look bad to other people. And I always notice this with artists who talk too much. If you talk too much about your work, I know your work isn't good. And so I think that's where that idea of you don't necessarily need to be moved by the work you're doing. I think there is an aspect of believing what you're doing. Like, if a key indicator of something's is actually not good is if I don't believe it. And so maybe the proper way to answer your question would be, if at my key success indicator would be, do I believe what I'm putting out? If I don't, then we have to scrap it. And then my joke about it's not that bad, I think that's how I just feel about every project. You see a rough cut and it makes you sick, and then you get to the end, and if it makes you less sick, then
Bro,
then
this is rich. This is rich stuff. All right, so I love this. So if it makes you less sick, you mentioned that, but also too, you mentioned, like, just a couple things I want to hit on. So do you feel like stories, like, now we're, like, diving into this concept of two principles, like, if something is something complete when it's over?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You feel like
Yeah.
something is complete when it's over.
The deadline.
You feel like so you feel like there are times where you hit a deadline and you feel like the story could have gone further, lived further than the deadline.
Oh yeah, but you got to be okay with that. I think if you apply that to life, if you applied that same concept to life, if I got to the end of the work day and I thought I could have done better, it's like you got to mourn that and then move on. You know, if your child gets to the end of 18 years and it's like, wow, I could have raised them better. Well, it's the end of the 18 years. That's it. Like you did your best and that's what it is. You know what I mean? And so
I end to begin.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like there has to be an end to things. And I think it's detrimental to dwell too much on like what you could have done. I think the review process is important. So don't get me wrong. But I think sitting there and going, I could have done this better. I could have done this better is like, I think it's pointless. But once again, I want to reiterate that you can get to whether it's art or, you know, a period in your life, I could get to the end of a project and go, I could have done this better, but do I believe it? Yes. Put it on.
Yeah. There's also, themes in here of, okay, is this piece what it's supposed to be for this time at this period? Like, is it speaking? You mentioned the message. Is it speaking the message? And then you also get into something that's really fascinating, is that the relationship between art and science and art, and how there's a scientific aspect to art, physiologically, emotionally, hormonally, like mentally. But then there's also that entire process of happening, like the physiological response, psychological response is also an artistic process, you know, when you look at it from a granular level. And so would you say that you approach it, so you're saying you approach art scientifically.
Yes.
So you're saying like systematically, okay, this, and this technically, or are you saying that like, because like I said, I watched your piece, Jabu. That's art, bro. That's art. Yeah. I'm like, bro, that was some good writing, cinematography. I don't believe the guy even said a word, but like, it's what he's narrating it.
Yeah.
Like, but so like, I'm like, it was a piece of art. So you don't see it that way.
I think, I see it as a science. I see science as an art. I see art as a science. You know, there's, and that's why I think there's a seriousness that it needs to be treated with, and not just like, this is something the kids are doing these days. Like, think about the euphoric feeling that worship music gives people. Yeah, you know, I always say with people, just because you come to church, you raise your hands and you cried. Yeah. Do not think you had a moment with God. Yeah. Because this music is designed to make you feel that way. It's a science. It's all psychological. You know what I mean? And so I even think with movies. Movies are designed to make you feel something. That's a science. Psychological. You're working with the brain. And so even when I edit, I'm thinking in terms of like, how does this make people feel here? What part of the mind does this mess with? You look at, you know, when people are giving people advice about making videos for social media, your hook is in the first 10 seconds. That's psychology, you know? And so when I say that I want to say I approach art as a science, both from a technical perspective, but also I think from a philosophical perspective in terms of, from a technical side, there's processes. I got to set dates to that, you know, so that I'm not endlessly thinking, you know, because I think as artists we have a tendency to just think too much and it's endless. But when you put scientific parameters around that on the technical side, I think it makes you a better creative. But then on the psychological side is like understanding that what I'm doing is psychology. It's a part of psychology. So, you know, we're working with the mind. And so understanding, even with Jabu, you know, the metaphors that we use when we're writing that, like making the message simple for people, that's a science. You know, when we shoot it, even though at the time I didn't know what I was doing. That was the first day I ever used a gimbal, and I was still trying to figure it out. Like, that's that's a science. Like when we put how are we putting these shots together? How do I make that dance sequence feel big and massive and like express what he's feeling in his head? Because for that street dancer, like this is the best time of his life. This is the best 15 seconds of his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so how do I do that through the camera? That's all science. And so I think that's what I mean when I say you have to treat art as a science. Even for painters, this color makes people feel this way. This is what this color does to. And I encourage creatives to study that, really, because I think it shows a serious immaturity as a creative when you don't understand the science behind what you do. Yeah. So yeah.
So you believe there's a formula to making good art?
Yeah. Always. There's always a formula. The same way. Like sports people have to be on the field or on the pitch or on the court every day practicing. Same thing with art. If you're a singer, you got to do your runs every day. If you play piano, I remember when I learned piano, every day I had to practice my skills. Or even as a filmmaker, I have to watch something every day, learn from someone, or shoot something, edit something at least every day. Like I think you're really doing yourself a detriment if you're not putting some sort of work into your art every day and developing your own systems for creating art. Yeah.
So do you feel like good art could be accidental?
Yeah, but I think that's the exception to the rule. I think good art can happen on accident, but most of the time I think there's a method to it. Yeah.
All right. So the filmmaking, storytelling, so in the process, like of course, like the camera represents your eye, what you see, how you want to see it. What part of that process makes you feel most alive? Like that, okay, there's a part of it that is like, oh my gosh.
I think for me it's the editing process. I'm so in love with the process of editing because I think that's kind of the last stop before a piece of work reaches the audience, and so that's our last chance to rewrite the film. They always say that a film is written 3 times: when you script it out, when you film it, and when you edit it. And so that's the final writing stage. That's where the most critical decisions of the film are being made. That's where the film is made or broken. There's a lot of great editors who've saved really bad films. So yeah, I'd say the editing process.
See yourself as like a gatekeeper of the process.
Exactly. Like,
so gatekeeper. So you see yourself as a gatekeeper. So like, which part resonates more? Gatekeeper from making sure that gatekeeper of the message, or gatekeeper of the receiver of the message?
I think gatekeeper of everything. If I decide not to edit a film, your message is not going out. I can sit here with my hands tied like your movie's not. I don't care what message you have. If it's not edited, it's not coming out. You know what I mean? So I think it's a gatekeeper of the entire process. Yeah.
Why film?
I think seeing is believing. I don't know. I just like the format of film. There's no deep reasoning behind it. I just think that's the form I use and love. I have equal respect for writing. I have equal respect for audible forms of art. Yeah.
And I remember you saying that you're like a really communal person. And how like some films gather, even in the beginning of this conversation, films gather people around. And so when like I said, like Jabu, like it's reading the comments of that piece, you see people like gathering, virtually, but gathering and enjoying a piece of art that really spoke to them. People from, of course, like South Africa, someone even commented from Kenya and stuff like that. It's stuff that it was reaching like genuine people. And so I see your art as like creating, the community that you also enjoy.
Yeah, I think art brings people together, no matter what. Whether it's a concert, art exhibition, the theater, Broadway. Like art always brings people together, and it brings people of different walks. Stand up comedy, like not only filmmaking, but I just think art in general brings people together. And I, even when it comes to community, I enjoy communing with people through art. I always joke with people, don't ever ask me out to dinner. I do not want to go to a dinner and sit with people. But you want to hang out with me? Ask me to go see a movie. I'll be out the house while you're calling. I haven't even answered the phone. I'll be out the house. And so I think art is very powerful in that way of being able to bring people together, whether they think the same, whether they believe the same. I think art just has that power.
And so when you think about a piece that you want to make, even outside of like the projects you have or working on, something like that, but something that you want to make, the message and the story that you want to tell, what would that be?
I was talking to a friend this week, and they're like, they're a pastor, and and we were kind of just talking about how like people just complicate the message of Christianity. And I just said, man, I just want to make Jesus practical. Like everyone just makes Christianity so weird, but like and when I say that, I'm not saying I necessarily want to make Christian films, but I think I want to really speak about the nuances and the small little what ifs, or how about we think about this. I think that would be my overall message, is like, let's look at the nuances within this life that God has given us and how he wants us to live it. And I think just thinking about the important things in life.
Like what?
I don't know, like time. Like how we deal with time, how we how we value things in life, whether it is time or people. I just think who we are as people is just way more important than what we can do, or and I think at the basis of it is when I make a film, I want people to look within at who they are. And so that may look different for different films, but at the basis of it, I want people walking away going, hey, what does this mean for me and my life? How does this change how I think? Yeah.
So do you feel in your process, you speak of a formulaic process, formulaic approach to art. So in that, going to the emotional aspect of it, when do you feel proud of a piece?
When I know it's made people feel something. And it may not be what I wanted them to feel, but if they felt something, or if it provoked them in some way, or provoked a thought or an idea, then I know, okay, I'm proud of this. Yeah.
And what movie would you say like does it impacts the audience who's consumed it the way that you want to do, even if it's not a Christian film or anything like that, but just has people reflect and speaks to the deeper meanings of life?
I think as of recent, I think it was Sinners for me. It hits the box of like community, but I think kind of how it brought Black people together, and we kind of started thinking around the idea of the life that's being sucked out of our culture, and and so and it was done in such a way where where it's like, and this is what I love about great art. Are you saying this in your film? I don't know. I just made a film about vampire, a bunch of people partying and vampires.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think I'd say that's kind of like the most recent film. But I think overall, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it was.
Once again, another one about time, the importance of people around you.
Did Tenet resonate with you?
Sorry,
Tenet.
Tenet, I didn't understand it. I was too busy trying to figure out people going backwards and forward. But yeah,
Get Out.
Yes, I loved Get Out.
Yeah.
Once again, like
yeah,
how there's certain people trying to suck the life out of our culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So another one. I'm just having fun. So then, have you seen Transformers 1?
No, I haven't been. No, I have, but I'm not a huge action person. So
really?
Yeah, like it's very hard for me to.
So no Dark Knight Rises.
No.
Really?
No.
What?
The first time I'm saying it publicly.
Oh my
I get
goodness.
Away. Once again, I'm a great storyteller, so I get away with it. And like when someone has never directly asked me, "Haven't seen Dark Knight Rises?"
Wow.
No, but then
why? So that's
my excuse is I grew up Christian. I grew up like in a strict Christian household, so like no secular sort of media. So there's just like a lot of things where I missed the trend and the hype around it. And so once I feel like I missed it, I go, I don't know.
Oh man, so like, bro, in that same vein, like I'm just starting Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like, my wife is a huge fan of it, so I'm just like, okay, let me just watch it.
Yeah.
Definitely like the hype of, I don't know if the hype still, I mean, they have a like long lasting.
Oh, the hype is long.
Like, so like, but like in the same vein with like Dark Knight Rises, bro, the message of it is like, so one thing for me is like when a good story. I love action stories because, and a good action story has to have a good villain.
Yeah.
Whose cause is as equally as important as the cause of the hero. Because, if it's not, I'm like, if it's a weak villain, I'm like, bro, like,
yeah,
I'm not about to like,
yeah.
I don't want to like, you don't really believe in what you're doing in the first place. I think the problem with villains is that they believe the means justify the ends.
Yeah.
But the cause is like, okay, Bane, all right, want to take from the rich, give to the poor.
Yeah.
Like he wants to, create the whole, like, turn the whole thing upside down. And so for me, it's like, okay, I like watching, principles talking to each other. Okay, so what happens when justice is, this character represents justice, this other character represents mercy. When I'm watching them talk and watching and consuming the video, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is justice and mercy talking to each other, and then they're fighting. I'm like, who's gonna win?
Yeah,
I'm like, this is the battlefield of these two principles. What happens when love or like hatred and forgiveness?
But do you see the signs of philosophy in what you're talking?
What do you mean?
Like you're going philosophy for philosophy.
Yes.
Like and that excites you. And that's what I mean.
Absolutely.
Right? When I say
yes.
art is a science, they've Nolan has literally like caused this inside of you. You're going.
The story is amazing.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And yeah, that's not to say I'm never gonna watch.
Yeah. So like,
I think there'll come a day when I watch Dark Knight. Right.
So like it's So you'll say that, like Dark Knight, say like, okay, you mentioned Get Out, Sinners, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So you feel like those are, you feel like to me it feels like you're going one step. It's like looking at one side of the coin. Here's why. Looking at, okay, like this is the scientifically emotions that it evokes. But the emotional aspect of it is another step forward and becomes like the art of it. I say that because, like, if I'm writing, I'm a writer. Like, I'm a writer at heart. Like, I write stuff and I'm like, okay, if I am stopping at, okay, like, I want short, impactful prose. The comment has to be here. This scene has to be painted in this way, and I ended at, okay, like the piece has no errors from a technical standpoint. Okay, no grammatical errors, no like run-on sentences, passive voices, stuff like that. But then it's like the content of that, again, needs to evoke emotion, and also allow that space. So I actually, when I think about it, I'm like, I feel like and let me know if this resonates with you, but science creates the structure, but I feel like art creates the space for someone to feel.
I think, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the technical aspect of it. Okay, the process here, scene 1 cut. Okay, we're doing it. Okay, now we have the scene. Okay, now it's time to build on that. Go to the next scene. But the start, in between the start, the beginning, and the end, I feel like that's the artistic part of it.
But I will say that without that science, it's very hard to make someone feel. So, for example, in filmmaking, there's a book called Save the Cat. Anyone who goes to film school, they make you read that book. And essentially, it goes through the beats and the points in a story where something is supposed to happen. So it's a formula. You know what I mean? Like A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Pythagoras, that's how you get the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing in filmmaking. So you need this part of the film, you need this part of the film in order for it to make sense. And so always think about how at the beginning of like a TV series, in the first episode, something happens, something ends. Someone's fired, someone dies, and that starts the beginning of the story. In Sinners, there's in the inciting incident. What happens for the characters to go on this journey? Something has to happen. You know what I mean? And so all these components are necessary. Turning points. The middle of the movie where everything flips on its head. That's important to make you feel. Without that, I think it's very hard to make someone feel. You know what I mean? I think that's what I mean when I say there's a science to filmmaking, because those. I remember there were kids who were like so against the three arc structure, and I was like, so many people have studied it. We've won Oscars, and that's why we're where we're at with filmmaking. And you're going, that's the science.
So do you feel like it could be changed, updated, upgraded, evolved?
No, because I think that's storytelling at its best. That's life. That's life. Like, I woke up today. The character has to have a goal. My goal is to go to work, come home, watch this TV show, and go to bed. That's a very boring day. You don't feel anything. What makes a story interesting is I woke up, I was on my way to work. On my way to work, I found out that, something's wrong with my license, or something has
pulled over.
Yeah, I get pulled over. And they'll, hey, by the end of the day, you need to rectify this, or else you're going to jail. That's the inciting incident. I got pulled over, right? And so now my goal has changed. I don't want to just go to work. I have to go to get this sorted out. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, this is great.
So that, you know what I'm saying?
So then, but at that same time, even like there can also be excitement in the boring. Here's what I'm talking about, even from a cinematic standpoint. Let's say in that everyone has just encountered this inciting incident. Yeah. That they know, like, hey, this guy has to make a decision, has to take some action to resolve the conflict that was just introduced. But it could be a story about the pushing down of emotion and responsibility. And you can create scenes where it's like, okay, this guy is going. He has multiple opportunities to make a decision. Okay, yeah, has the ticket right there, has his job right there. Looking at both, I want to ignore it. Oh, that's tension building. Yeah, and then it gets to you have the time aspect of it. Okay, click. Time's going down. Yeah. He's going about his day, the boring day, but the fact that extra knowledge and extra scene is in there now creates tension and excitement. It's like, okay, because at our core, I mean, we relate to people in general. It's like we see ourselves in people. That's just how God made us. And it's like you watch them like, bro, what are you doing? Exactly. What's going on? Again, what are you doing?
That's the science. That's the science. You saying that God created us that way to relate to people? That's the science. You know what I mean? So I think. Yeah, I don't know. I just always I always look at art and I want to see, and I just look for the signs behind it, I guess. I don't know.
So then, why is, well, first thing, I know you, and I know, like, I've worked with you. So the question is, why is making an impact important to you?
Because I think a life with no impact is a wasted life. And I think the mistake we make is misjudging the level of the impact.
What do you mean?
Some people try to, impact has looked a certain way, and it's always at the highest level. So I want to, like, drastically change multiple people's lives, and I think when I say that a life with no impact is a wasted life, people, I think automatically you think of, like, huge impact. But I think the everyday being kind to one another, that impacts someone's life, that could cause some sort of change in someone's life. And so when you ask why is impact so important to me, I think God has placed us here on this earth to impact each other's lives, and I think a part of that is stewardship, stewarding someone's life properly, whether it's your child or your wife. You're making some sort of impact in their life, whether it's a positive or a negative one. And so I think for me, having a life where I'm affecting people around me, that is a life that is that's been stewarded well.
Amen. And this is fascinating because the crown card that you read is I Am to Begin, the aspect of the time to it. Your piece, Jabu, aspect of time to it. Even this, like, it has aspect of time to it, where it's like you feel like a life that without impact is what I would waste of time.
Yeah.
So why is time so important to you? Why is that such a?
Because we have so little of it. I think we live these lives and we think time is infinite. Like, no one thinks about, at some point this is gonna end. And I think I've just become very cognizant of time and how much of it we have. The important thing was not making time an idol for me. Always thinking, by this age I have to do this and blah, blah, blah. And that, like, would send me down, a downward spiral of depression. But I think time is one of the most important things that God has given us. And I think we need to steward that properly. Because, you may not have money, but you have time. Time is the fairest thing that exists.
What do you mean?
Everyone has it. Everyone has time. At the basis of this life thing, everyone has time. The important thing is then how you use it. How much of it you're using. How much of it you're wasting. And so, I don't know. I think for me, my obsession with time comes from the fact that we all have it, and it's interesting to watch how people use it.
Yeah, I'm picking up an element of ownership in your makeup.
Yeah.
And in the sense of you love the editing process. You're taking ownership of the story, ownership of the message, and the messages that that resonate with you. You talk about time. It's about also ownership of the time you've been given, the gift you've been given. When did that start?
I don't know. I can't say I remember a specific point where that started, but I think it just developed as I think it was just a principle in my home, understanding how to manage your time, and if you've mismanaged it, taking ownership for I mismanaged my time, and yeah, I think I'd say that like it just developed in the home, throughout life growing up. I think I've always just had there's always just been a deadline for things. High school, 18 years, I have to do it in 12 years. Like in my family, like failing is like, man,
hate to lose.
How could you fail at school? Well, not even to hate to lose, but it's like the groundwork is there.
Yeah.
Just go to school every day, do the homework. You're guaranteed
The
to.
formula's there.
You might not get an A, but you're guaranteed at least to pass. And so, in school, you got 12 years to get through school. All right, I finished college. Oh, it's a 3-year program. Yeah, you got to do it in 3 years. Mm-hmm. We're not paying for another semester. You got to do it in 3 years. And so
deadlines.
It's always just deadlines. Also, in 3 years, the visa comes to an end, and I got to go back home. I got to make use of this time. And so I think over time that like I've just been always put in situations where time was very important, and I think that's what developed my sense of ownership and my love for and my reverence for time.
Amen. And I have I wonder, have you seen the movie Arrival?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my goodness. We talk about time and storytelling. Yeah. That story is, I mean, because set the scene. The concept of the movie is extraterrestrial beings come to Earth, and basically the entire movie, people are trying to figure out why they're there. And
shoot! Is it the bunch of scientists and there's like this thing they don't? Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah, bro. I've seen that.
Oh my goodness! Like that movie, it's a story that's being told from beginning to end, into beginning, middle to present, past, future, like all at once, and that's just a great. I
might run that back tonight,
that movie is amazing, bro. Like that movie is like wow. They don't make movies like that no more. They do at the same time, but so movies like that went up like where it's like it's just incredible storytelling from every side. Like you see like what happens when you're seeing the past from the future from the past. Like it's just the whole thing is just it's mind blowing. So the last question I have is, scientifically, what kind of impact do you want to have on people with the time you've been given?
I think once again, like just making Jesus practical for people. And I don't mean that in the way of like preaching, but showing all characters of Jesus in the time that I have, all the characteristics, of Jesus in the time that I have here, whether that's kindness, gentleness, like all the fruit of the Spirit, kindness, gentleness, self-control, forgiveness. I think that's what at the end of it all, I want to be able to say, okay, was I kind to people? Check. Was I gentle? Check. Self-control? Check. Long-suffering? Check. And hoping that makes Jesus practical and real to people, and it
relatable.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me has, and I think maybe this is where my love for storytelling comes from, is storytelling allows you to spread a message, but in a way that isn't on the nose. So I want to live a life where I never have to, hopefully, never have to use words to say Jesus will change your life. You know what I mean? I want to be able to, hey, why didn't you get mad at me when I did that? Oh, I'm a Christian. I believe in forgiveness and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Experience.
Exactly. And so
you want to create experiences that make Jesus relatable through your films.
Exactly. So, yeah. So even in my films, I want to develop characters that show the characteristics of Jesus, and I think at the basis of it, that's it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thando
Thank you.
Mbhele. my guy. Some profound discussion, visionary. How can people contact you, like, consume your stuff, follow you? What's your stuff?
Don't contact me, but I right now I'm still kind of, a little bit underground. But you can find me on Instagram, Thando_Mbhele. I'm on TikTok. I'm having a lot of fun with TikTok right now, Thando Mbhele. And then my website, thandombhele.com, which is where you can find my portfolio and stuff if you're trying to hire me. But yeah, I think I'm very excited for this year to come. God is kind of just planting a lot of ideas and concepts in me, and I think the next 2 to 3 years would be me kind of getting back into creating again and creating for myself, to be honest. I think for the last couple of years I've done a lot of stuff for companies, for churches and stuff like that, but I think the upcoming 2 years will really just be me being able to express myself.
Amen.
Yeah, creatively.
That's great.
Yeah.
There you have it. From the Hate to Lose podcast, I'm your host, Christian John Bradley. We will see you next week. Cool.
See you guys.
Good stuff, man. Thank you. Good stuff, man.